On this episode of the Bangkok Podcast, we talk about the challenges and barriers to getting quality English language news on Thailand from Thailand.
But first, don't make fun of my book for preschoolers. Yes, my book that I bought for me.
Put down your copy of War and Peace, adults, because here's Season 2, Episode 43 of the Bangkok Podcast. Hello and welcome to the Bangkok Podcast. My name is Greg Jorgensen, a Canadian who decided to give Thailand a whirl in 2001 and just kind of ended up staying.
And I am Ivo Terra, an American expat living full-time in Bangkok since the beginning of 2016. Thanks for joining us and welcome to the Big Mango.
Before we get into things, a big thanks to our supporters on Patreon who help us keep the show going and free of annoying ads. We've got a few people to start thanking, but rather than have the whole front end of the show filled with the names of our lovely patrons, we'll spread them out a bit and get more names in future shows. But that being said, let's get our first name out of the way on this episode.
Yeah, I'm going to start off by thanking a gentleman by the name of Adam Payet. I'm assuming that's how I pronounce your name. I haven't learned to pronounce Australian yet. Speaking of that, he used to live in Phuket a few years back, but has been forced to return to his native homeland of Australia, where I assume he's busy fighting off everything that will try and kill him. But he does like to keep up to date with what's happening on in Thailand by listening to the podcast. So, Adam, thank you very much.
You know, I was doing a little bit of research and I read a news story on Adam, and it said that he is the only person on Tinder who has never had anyone swipe left. So, nice one, Adam.
Oh, wow. Is that a good thing or a bad thing?
That's a good thing.
It's a good thing. All right.
Everyone who sees him wants a piece of him.
Everybody wants a piece of Adam. Well, we've got Adam's piece. Wait. Thanks, Adam. We really do appreciate it. And if you would like to get your name mentioned here on the front of the program, just like we have done right now, or simply access to bonus content like the segment Greg and I just recorded a little bit ago, or just early access to the show, go to patreon.com/Bangkok Podcast and get signed up today. We really appreciate it.
So we've talked about a lot of books lately. In a previous show, just a few weeks back, we had an author of a really, really cool book on. But Ivo, I heard that you just bought a new book, and one maybe without even a lot of pictures.
Well, you're right-ish. I did buy a new book, and this one is called Fun Training Gagai Through Honok. Whatever. What's the H sound?
I'm assuming you're trying to say Kokai and Hua. Wait, no. What the hell's the name of the? Oh man, I forgot.
It's the one that looks like an owl. So it's the chicken to owl. How about that? Fun training from chicken to owl.
No, hook. That's the letter. Okay.
That's the book that I bought, and it's.
So I'm going to guess this is a Thai language book.
Well, yes. It's designed to help children learn to write their Thai alphabet.
It's great, man.
And I think this is aimed at kids who might be 3. So that's what I have in my hand right now is a book that I went over and bought because I'm learning my letters in case you haven't been paying attention out there, world. And I did a really good job. I learned how to read Krung Tep Mahanakan on a driver's license plate today. It's like, oh my God, I can read that word. I was so terribly excited, but I still can't write for squat. So I bought a little book so that I can practice my writing and take notes, but I figured I needed to learn the way the kids learn. And so this big 8.5 by 11 book that is designed for small children to teach them which direction to write all the letters. That's what I'm going to do. So rather than, fake it, I figured, well, might as well learn like a 3-year-old. Why not?
That's great, man. That's how I learned. I'm pretty familiar with the Thai alphabet, and that's exactly how I started. Does this have anything to do with our previous show with Stu J. Raj, the multilingual polyglot who said that Thai language actually makes a lot of sense once you start to learn it?
Nah, screw that guy. No, of course it did. Yeah, that's exactly why I did it, because I took that to heart and said, all right, I'm not picking it up listening. So first, I'm hard of hearing. I really honestly am. And so all of these different, forget the tones for a second, but the fact that there are 4 different ch sounds, but they're not the same. They all sound the same to me, but I know that they're not exactly the same. So going into the alphabet has taught me that, oh my God, I'm pronouncing all types of words wrong because I don't know the way it's spelled. So now when somebody says a word, I will have them spell it in Thai,
Yeah.
And then I will figure out, oh, the right way to say that is this. Okay, now it makes sense.
Dude, that's a major milestone, and it really is one of those like, oh, moments
Yeah.
when you ask someone to write a word in Thai so you know how to, so you can understand how to say it properly.
Right.
Yeah, that's a really powerful moment, and it's great when you pass that.
Yeah, and it's wonderful because I'm not reading it. I'm not translating it to English. Not all of them. Some I still do. But now I know certain words have certain sounds. The good news is vowels. Vowels, I don't think of them as in the form of E unless it is the long E that's on top of that one, but there's so many different subtle variations of that one. Those are just becoming, that's That's I'm getting those things now, which we don't have letters for those in English. So it's really helpful. And I've only been focusing on this for about a week and a half. And I'm picking it up pretty quick.
I'm so proud of you, man.
Well, thanks. I'll be able to read and make sounds. I won't be able to make those into words that I know what they are for a while. But hey, at least I'll be able to sound impressive when I'm reading a menu.
Yeah, well, I work with two of my coworkers. One of them is a guy, and his name is Uy. And another one is a girl, and her name is Uy. So, these little tone things are important, because if you're talking about someone and someone else is listening and they have a completely different idea, they're like, why did that person do that? Oh, you're not talking about them. So
Right. It's all different. So anyhow, I'm learning. So hopefully I'll check in every so often and let you know how my progress is going. But this is my step to learning to, I don't know if I'll become fluent. I don't know that I'll become completely conversant, but I will at least have a much better appreciation for the language in the country in which I am currently residing.
Good for you, man.
Thanks, man.
Well, speaking of books and learning, Thailand isn't quite as dedicated to the concept of a free press, quote unquote, as most Westerners are used to. Now, while it's not quite a state-controlled place like North Korea or China or Russia, there are definitely limitations, about 44 of them to be precise, to how far the Thai press will go. But for expats, there's a more fundamental problem, and that is actually getting any news from Thailand in a language other than Thai.
Yeah, in case we've made it, or we have not made it abundantly clear, I should say, English is really well spoken by most Thai people that you're going to encounter if you are a Bangkok expat on a daily basis, even though I'm still trying to learn Thai. Nonetheless, the good news is most people that I encounter daily in Bangkok speak good quality English. But more than one expat new to the area has bemoaned the lack of English-based content coming out of the Thai media. And that's for a very good reason, because there isn't very much.
Yeah. So we thought we'd talk this episode about what options there are for English-based news from Thailand. So first, let's get into the TV end of things, TV media. What do you think about TV?
Yeah, so I did a little bit of research on this topic, and according to Wikipedia, because, the place you go to get answers today is Wikipedia, and it actually does a pretty good job. So here's what they say about television. Quote, television is by far the most popular medium in Thailand. And we're comparing this to radio, television, and newsprint, by the way. So television is by far the most popular medium in Thailand. Almost 80% of Thais are estimated to rely on television as their primary source of news. And here's the kicker. Major television stations are owned and controlled by the Royal Thai Army or government.
Yeah, it's interesting to read that, because as someone who has cut the cord a long time ago, 10 years ago, when I watch TV, I watch a show that I want to watch with no commercials, with nothing on the front or the end. It's the show that I want to watch, and that's it. So to hear that Thailand is still so reliant on television is often a little bit hard for me to really get my head around, because television doesn't mean anything to me.
Yeah, but, we have to watch out of the sample size of one. Even if you go back to your country of origin and my country of origin, the vast majority of people still get the mass consumption of their news through television. Television is still pervasive. There's a digital gap, and we'll talk about digital towards the end of the show. But nonetheless, it still remains a common way of doing things. And for one simple reason, when you turn the TV on, it works. You would literally turn on the power, and assuming you are on a station, and long gone are the days where you could turn to a station and get static. That doesn't happen. Although in Thailand, you can turn to a station and get tone, because that happens all the time around here. But, you turn on a station and the TV starts playing. And so that's why it's remained ubiquitous today. I think the challenge to me is that I would love to get my news from television, at least some of my news from television. The problem is I literally cannot get any English news from Thai television or Thai news sources. None. Zip. Zero. Nada. There is not a single news program produced in Thailand from a Thai television station that is in English. And it used to be. There used to be Thai television programs that were done in English. And they have, for various reasons, which I don't even know, I haven't done enough research to find out, they've all either failed or shut down. And now, if it's official Thai broadcast, it's going to be in Thai.
Yeah, I vaguely remember some shows like some news shows in English years and years ago, and I never watched them then either. But yeah, it's just unless you have a specific package that gives you like foreign channels like BBC or Al Jazeera or NBC or something like that, then yeah, you're not going to get anything from Thailand in English. So unless you speak Thai, good luck with that.
Yeah. And you mentioned the packages for television, because cable television is ubiquitous in Thailand, certainly here in Bangkok. And TV is not terribly expensive to have. And by the way, you have to have it. You can't just get an internet connection. You have to get an internet connection with a home phone, which you're never going to use, and a television, which has 197 channels that you can't watch. But in that basic package, which I have, my news options are twofold. I get Al Jazeera News, or I get RT, which is Kremlin-supported news.
Are you serious?
Yeah, RT is owned by the Kremlin. So I can get Thai government-sponsored news in Thai. I can get Al Jazeera News, which is relatively middle, although that they're out of Qatar, which is currently facing a whole bunch of sanctions. That's nasty. And then you can have, what the KGB, or now called FSB, wants you to hear about on Russian TV. That's it for my news choices.
That is so bad, because you know what my second favorite national anthem is behind the Canadian national anthem? The Russian national anthem. It's really good.
Is it?
Yeah, it's fantastic. It's beautiful.
I don't know that I've ever heard it, but I don't know. I've been in a lot of hockey games, so I probably have heard it at some point. Yeah. So, but again, if you want to get your news from Thai, you want to get your news about Thailand from television, good luck. They don't even put subtitles on, which really annoys me. I wish they had English subtitles going across the bottom. I'd take it that way, but no.
For a long time, I tried to bone up on my Thai by watching TV on stuff, and it was usually in the mornings. And I got to say, you're not missing much by not watching Thai television, because in the mornings especially, they could rename the news broadcasts to "Who Died Last Night." It's just a never-ending stream of motorcycle accidents and robberies and shootings and things like that. It's really awful, and a Thai news show is not what Westerners would equate with a news show. So it's more graphic, it's more sensational, it's a bit more and gory. So I don't know if you're missing a lot.
Yeah, there's as far as I can find, there's not a Thai equivalent for CNN. There's no 24-hour news that's available in English. So those sorts of things don't exist. So yeah, you're stuck watching soap operas. And weirder game shows than you can possibly imagine.
And also, you mentioned that the military has a hand in the television landscape as well. Yeah. And so any station that does pop up that might have an alternative or an independent streak running through it is closely watched and closely monitored. And a lot of times they don't last too long. Yeah,
that's true. So I think your options for television is good luck. Find CNN or something else on at a bar somewhere or at your hotel room, or you could just buy the package, but you're not going to get it from Thai local sources.
Let's move over to radio. Now, you spent a few years as a DJ or something like that, didn't you?
Yeah, no spinning of the platters for me. Well, at least not on the air. I did that a little bit in college. But when I was on the radio, I had a talk radio show on one of the biggest talk radio stations back in America about a decade or so ago. One of these days, I'll tell you about how I got kicked off of the air. It's a fun, interesting story.
You're like Howard Stern.
Yeah, but anyhow, forget that. So Thai news on the radio. Well, unfortunately, it's a kind of a similar story to what I said on television. There are a couple, and I can only find two right now, Greg, two radio stations that broadcast in English. And neither of them are news-based. One of them I was just listening to earlier, and I'm pretty sure it's smooth sounds of the 60s, 70s, and 80s.
Okay,
That's
lovely.
it. And the other one is, I'm not sure how long it's going to be around. It's a newish station. I think it's only been on the air for a couple of months now, maybe not even that long. And it's called Inspire Bangkok, and it's on at 105.75. And it's just, I mean, they're bumping out house music all the time. And I think it's less live news, more about somebody managed to find a way to get internet radio and put it on the air. It just doesn't feel like, again, I spent a couple of years in a talk radio station that did news and politics and sports, and that this station does not have that feel to it whatsoever. So, and I wish that was the case, because, as you're driving around in a car, you turn the radio on real quickly, what's happening on the news? No luck. You're not going to find it out.
I don't listen to the radio that often. When I'm driving, I sometimes turn it on just to have some background noise.
Sure.
But when I do hear news broadcasts, I think it's Radio Thailand.
Yeah.
And it comes, I don't know when it's on, I mean, every hour or something like that. And it comes on and it basically just reads the headlines from the international news and the local news, and doesn't really get into anything more in depth than that. But the thing that I hate about that is something that the guest on our previous show was talking about, prosody, I think was the word.
Prosody, yeah.
Prosody, which is how the lyrical sound of a language fits together. And the thing I don't like about it is that the announcers, who are, I think they're Thai, but they're speaking in English, which, I mean, I'm not knocking that in any way, shape, or form. But the way they read the news, it's like they cut up, they record each word individually and then string them all together. So there really lacks a cadence in how they speak. So it's sort of like this, talking about things that maybe are not joined together naturally. It's kind of like Chandler Bing from Friends. A scone, my scone, could you be any funny? Like, it's really weird to listen to, and it doesn't make for smooth listening. It doesn't make me want to come back and hear what else they have to say.
Yeah, and I think the part of the challenge is the population here in this city of 14 million people, or whatever the number happens to be today, they're predominantly Thai, and they speak Thai, and it's a very small percentage of those, that'll be us, that belong, that don't speak it. So it comes back to our problem. So I just don't think there's enough of a demand for English only, especially done by native English speakers. Will that change in the future? I don't know. There have been more. They've gone out of business. Now there are a couple of new ones back that may or may not last for a length of time. I just don't know. I do know that radio across the world is dying, and it's very difficult to attract new listeners to it. So would it work here in town? I don't know the answer to that question.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't understand the landscape enough to really have an opinion on that. But for me, again, much like TV, radio is less than 0.1% of what I listen to. So
yeah.
So yeah. Well, let's get off this buzzkill and get back to a medium where I know that there are English options in Bangkok. Now that is print. The Bangkok Post and The Nation both produce dailies in English.
Yep, they certainly do. I mean, you can go down to wherever you find newspapers. Where do you find newspapers? I mean, I haven't seen like a thing you go drop quarters into. Well, I guess it wouldn't be quarters. How much we drop in? Several, sit back coins into and pull down and pull a paper out. Do they have newspaper bins like that here? Have you seen?
Oh, like a newspaper box where you put coins in and pull the door open. Yeah. I don't think I've ever seen one of those actually, but they do have newspaper vendors where it's like a little shop and they've got their newspapers all laid out. A lot of times the person will have a little basket on the end of a stick, and she'll stick it out and you'll put your money in there and take your paper and
really?
Off you go. Yeah.
Are you from the past? This really happens? Wow.
from Bangkok. This probably doesn't happen in the middle of Saturn or Sukhumvit, but it did out years ago when I used to buy the newspaper on Tonglo and stuff like that. So
Yeah. Well, I know that they do produce those, and there's a couple of other rags. Phuket's got one that's in English. Chiang Mai has one that's in English. But here in town you get the Bangkok Post and the Nation, which are like the big ones that are out there, and it's full size newspaper. I mean, it looks like any newspaper that you want to get. I've seen them. I see them in hotel lobbies quite a lot, or doctors' offices, or other spots like that. And what I don't know, and that's because I haven't read the newspaper since I was 19 years old, not at least not in print form, is what's in it. Are they the same stories that's in the Bangkok Post English that is in the Bangkok Post Thai version? Or are they different? What do you think?
from what I understand, the Thai language press has a little bit more of a sensationalistic spin on it. Now, the Bangkok Post and the Nation are what you and I and most Westerners would consider professional newspapers. They're professionally managed. They look like newspapers in the West. They're written objectively.
All media is biased. All media is biased. Right.
But you have editorials. You have movie reviews. You have the letters page. You have entertainment, sports, things like that. And it's as close to a Western style newspaper as you'll ever find here. But from what I'm told is that the Thai language newspapers, each one is its own like little personality. So like one might be super left wing, one might be super right wing, one might be a bit more gossipy, one might print a lot of gory pictures. So they're a little bit more prone to exaggeration, sensationalism. They play up certain elements of the news depending on where they fit on the spectrum, kind of thing.
Yeah, well, that's no different than newsprint that I'm used to. I mean, the Washington Post has a different slant than the New York Times. And if you go to England, the Daily Mail is quite different than the Sun, for example. So I know that's the same here. So I guess my question to come back to it is, so the Bangkok Post, for example, we'll just take that one. I don't care which way it leans, but the Bangkok Post produces one newspaper a day in English and one newspaper a day in Thai. Are they the same, other than the language in which they are written?
I had no idea that they produced a Thai version. I haven't picked up a newspaper in about 12 years. So I have no idea. I couldn't tell you. Sorry.
My instinct and anecdotal information I've heard from other people is that they are not the same. That there are some stories that are deemed, and I don't know who makes this deeming, that do not necessarily paint everything in a nice rosy light, so they just don't print those in English. Now, I don't know that that's true. I'm not making an accusation. That accusation has been made. I'm just simply stating in that. And maybe that's not the case any longer. Maybe they are very much the same, but I had heard from other people, and I hate passing information that I haven't actually verified, that there are certain stories that don't make it to the English versions of the paper. So if you're out there listening and you have some proof about that, perhaps you work for the Bangkok Post or the Nation or one of the other sources we're going to talk about, and you can confirm that, I would love to know. Do I have confirmation from people that say, yes, in fact, there are two different versions, not just language, but the actual story content as well?
It's funny you mention that because let's flip it around a bit. And in one of our previous shows recently, we interviewed Ron Morris, who wrote a really interesting book on Thai culture. It's called The Thai Book. A field guide for Thai political motivations. And it was talking about Thai culture and how it works when it smashes up against politics. And one of the things I remember reading from the book is that a lot of times the English language press in Thailand or the website or a blog or something like that will have an explosive story, like an exclusive story, blah, 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 whatever it is. And it turns out to be not a big deal because that exact same issue has been in the Thai press for weeks and people have discussed it to death. And it's only just breaking through the barrier into Thai, into English language. So it definitely goes that way. And I'm assuming it must go the other way too.
Yeah. So maybe that's where I got the information from. Maybe it was from Ron that was saying that's the way things work. So yes, clearly there's a difference. But yes, the good news is if in fact you have a fix for your daily paper, okay, that's not the two of us, but maybe it's you. The good news is for you coming to Bangkok is you'll be able to get your news from Bangkok in English, at least a good portion of it.
Yeah, well, I think what we've established so far, if we've established anything, is that personally, I have no idea what's going on television, radio, and very little about what's going on in newspapers. But it is 2017, so the internet will save us.
Yes.
Is that right?
Yeah, they sure will. There are a lot of options if you don't need it from the television or the radio or the print, because none of us get that stuff that way. Kausad, to properly be my better pronunciation, is in English. Do you know much about how Kausad got started, what they began as? Do you know?
Not a clue.
I didn't have a lot of background on that one, but they've got real journalists, real print, all of that, but they do a website, Kausad English, which has all of the news you want to get. There's no print version that I can find. It is only an electronic version, but just like every other newspaper outlet in the world, they've gone digital, and so has Kausad English. And if you need information about things happening right now in Thailand, it's probably one of another source you can get to. You can still Bangkok Post has a website. The Nation has a website, but Kausad English is one. There's also Thai PBS English. They produce the Thai public, I guess that's public broadcasting. Is that what the P stands for?
I believe so, yeah.
Yeah. So they produce stories that are in English, and then they're just a crap ton of freelancers and alternate media outlets like Coconuts and like What's on Sukhumvit and 1,000 other websites and blogs from varying levels of degree of professionalism from what journalism comes out there that you can get. If you want to get news online in Thailand, the good news is that's available in English.
Yeah, when we'd be loath to forget to mention Thai Visa, which is the granddaddy of all the online sources about Thailand. As much as I don't like mentioning them, because it really is kind of there's a lot of crap in there. There's a lot of good content too, but it's often surrounded by sniping expats and barstool professionals.
Well, it's like anything, man. Just avoid the comments, and you'll probably be okay. There are news stories there and posted. Same thing, Reddit. Reddit's kind of there's a Reddit, the Our Thailand forum, that people post news stories to quite a lot. Once again, watch out for the comments. It's where bad things happen.
I subscribe to the Thai Visa newsletter, which comes out daily, which is pretty good, and it's got a lot of content in there, and a lot of it's really good and very relevant, but yeah, just stay away from the comments.
Yeah, it is. So, and I guess finally, to kind of wrap this whole thing up, there is the very real option of simply not getting your news about Thailand from Thailand. Google News. If you set that up on your computer, as I have it on my computer and on my phone, I see local news from Thailand, and I let Google cultivate that. And there are 100 other apps out there that are providing news sources, people writing about the kingdom all the time. So if you don't really need information coming directly from this place and you would like information about this place, it's well reported. You may not necessarily need to have a local Thai-based news outlet.
I agree.
But if you do need one, might I recommend the Bangkok Podcast?
We might be biased. We might be
biased. So, all right. Well, that was our quick look at the traditional as well as new media formats for you in Thailand. If you are coming to Thailand to live or to work or just to hang out for a long time and be expats like the two of us, and you want your news, hopefully we gave you some ideas of where you might go get fresh news about Thailand for what it's worth. Now, my friend, we shall transition into my favorite segment of the entire show called Love, Loathe, or Leave. And if you're brand new listening to us, this is the segment where I, or Greg, but today it's I, share some little tidbit about living in the kingdom with Greg and find that if it's something he loves about living in Thailand, something that he loathes about living in Thailand, or something that is so terrible it's going to make him leave any day now to go buy more shoes. Here it is, Greg. We've been going negative on a lot of these lately, so I thought I'd bring out a positive. Mm-hmm. And I've just discovered this recently, and it's the magic of pork floss.
Pork floss.
Pork floss. Now, that sound Greg made in through his throat right there about that incredulity wasn't this, what is this weird thing called pork floss? No. That was, why are you talking about pork floss? This ubiquitous thing that's everywhere, this tasty, wonderful, sugar-rich concoction that also has a little bit of pork in it. It is so tasty and amazing. But in America, we would never think to take shredded pork, keep shredding it down to the consistency of cotton fibers, and then soak it in sugar for about 85 hours, and then serve it as a dessert.
Dude, first of all, pork floss sounds like a villain from the Flintstones. Like, hey, watch out, it's pork floss. This stuff is gross, man. It's
fantastic.
It's so gross. It's like pig flavored cotton candy.
Exactly. That's exactly what it is. Pig flavored cotton candy, and I love it.
No, I don't mind the taste. And I'll eat it when I have to, but it's certainly not something I'll seek out. It's just weird and creepy, man. You shouldn't shred and inflate meat.
I want to get a cotton candy machine and a pig, and I want to make pork floss on a paper cone that is the size of my head, and eat it as I'm walking down the street. Oh my God, that sounds good.
I'm pretty sure that would be in violation of several international conventions. Nah, I don't loathe it to the point where I'm going to leave Thailand, but it's something that I actively try to avoid. I've had it. It hasn't made me vomit, but it's not something that I want.
It's a split decision, kids. I am clearly in the love camp, and the food hater Bigfoot over here, well, you decide which one you want to be friends with.
Watch out, everyone. It's pork floss. He's coming to shut down the cafe.
Oh, pork floss. I'm going to have some after this show is over, so.
You go right ahead.
Hey, all right. So as we said at the top of the show, beginning in August, and oh, by the way, happy August 2017, everyone.
Hey.
We got a lot of people to thank for supporting our show. These wonderful patrons have been coming out of the woodwork. We're hit another milestone. I say that every week, I seems, but that's so great that all of you are deciding to support us over there. And for the people who support us at only $5, they get their name mentioned on the show, just like we mentioned already Mr. Adam Prayette earlier today. Next week we'll mention somebody else, and then the next week, and the next week, and hopefully the problem I want us to have here, Greg, is 30 people sign up a day. So we have to do a show that we do nothing but mention people by name.
Just be like, welcome to the Bangkok Podcast, John Smith, Leslie. Just like 20 minutes of names right off.
I promise if we get to that point, we will figure some other way to do that.
It's gotta be something. Well, if you'd like for us to publicly say nice things about you, or you just want to get the show early or get access to some special patron-only bonus content and swag, head to patreon.com/Bangkok Podcast and lend us your support. We really, really appreciate it. And thanks to you for listening to the Bangkok Podcast. If you have something on your mind or just want to drop us a line to say hello, please leave a comment on bangkokpodcast.com, or you can reach out directly to me on Twitter, where I am BKK Greg.
Or you can send us a message on either Facebook or on Twitter to @Bangkok Podcast. Oh, that's right. Our line account continues to go rocking. It's now been made official. You can find it easier. Everything's all much better. Yay! We're actually at Bangkok Podcast online now as well. So it's nice and easy and simple to get there. And there's still a link to sign up in the show notes. But enough pumping of all of that. For Greg Jorgensen, I am Evo Terra. We shall be back next week with more stories of our lives lived in Krung Thep Mahanakan, right here on the Bangkok Podcast. Cheers.
God, I always hate when I turn off the aircon and then turn off the fan in preparation for recording, and then suddenly I'm like, man, it's hot.
Yeah, there is always that. Welcome to Bangkok. Although it's been pretty mild, I gotta say, as far as summer goes. I think last year was worse, although maybe I'm just used to it now. What do I know?
I can never remember from one year to the next. It's always hot or wet or muggy.
Hey, we call that Thailand, man.
I guess so, and we're happy to be here.